Hello Capsuleer, my name is Gildy and welcome to EVE Online.
Every event, there is a ton of videos popping up yelling at you. Fly this! This is the best! The best fit of 3024. But nobody will ever tell you what the events are anymore, what the content even is that you will encounter, and how you can be ahead of the competition, which there will be plenty of, and have some fun doing it. I come to you with offering of not only the ships that I decided to fly this year's Winter Nexus event, but a quick explanation of each of the content types that you can engage in, where to look for it, and tips, if I have any to share for each content types, so you can get the most out of the content. All the fittings I mention here will be linked in the video description. Let's get right into it. First things first. How do you even know how to find the sites? They spawn all over New Eden, in high sec, low sec and null sec, and are contained in winter storms. The storms will increase your thermal resistances and lower the heat damage done by overheating your modules. You can find where your closest storm is by opening the map, clicking on this little cog, then geography and statistics, and selecting metaliminal storms. This filter shows you some of the storms that usually run around nullsec, but it also shows all of the event ones. Another way is to use the filament you get in the login rewards. Keep in mind, those work like regular filaments, so can be used once every 15 minutes, unless you get any Capsuleer log of timers, then it resets, and take you to a random storm of security you choose with the filament you use. If you decide that the storm you are in is too crowded to your taste, find a new one. A lot, and I mean a lot, of people run near Jita, and if you move further from it, you will have way more fun in less crowded areas. So, now that you know how to find content, why do it? For loot, of course, but also to the missions the event presents us with. The more points you collect, the better the prizes, and this year, CCP spoils us with not only skill points being on the table, but up to 100 PLEX, which is up for grabs per character that finishes the whole event bar. So let's go into the content. First up are combat sites. The most straightforward of the sites. You warp in, take a gate, fight a wave of rats, and in high sec, which I did, is just one wave, in low sec I encountered 3 waves of rats. These rats will webify you, neutralize your capacitor, and they will use both long and short points on you, so you have to survive there before you can warp off, and afterburners are a preferred way of moving around because of the scrams. Once you destroy all the required rats, a battleship spawns, which is the loot pinata here. It will contain all the good loot, which can be scooped up, and then you simply move along. I will talk about the loot you can get in the sites at the end of this video. The ship I have chosen for this content type is my rusty trusty Loki. I know, some of you will not like that, because I can't contest Marauders, it is not a min-maxed speedrun ship, etc. Counterpoint? It does not cost 2 to 3 billion ISK just to leave it behind afterwards, because if I decide I don't want to run any more sites after this event in this ship, I disassemble it, and with no loss whatsoever, I sell it all. It is faster to travel if you find a contested area you want to leave, and it can double up as a ship for running the Crimson Harvest sites. I have made it for Crimson Harvest and decided to check if it's even viable for the winter event. To my surprise, it does pretty well in high sec. Double reps, when staggered, have no issues tanking the waves, webs and hams make short work of the rats, and releasing drones is possible, but only for maybe 1 to 2 salvos before you have to pull them back due to aggro that the rats have against drones. And now for a few tips for how I run the sites myself. If a Marauder contests the site I'm running, if I'm maybe halfway through the battleship, I will try to finish it. But if it's just starting, I will try to get out as soon as possible, because why would I even try against something that has a few times more DPS? Simplest way to do it is to get out, move to a system with a lot more sites spawned, where Marauder pilots won't even try to contest you because there are empty sites to run and most of them will default to just trying to grab empty sites instead. Another piece of advice is to not give any salt in local to people that might contest you. Just ask politely, and if they decide to be dumbasses about it, keep it to yourself. You would be surprised, but just having a polite request in chat actually works sometimes, and you can end up having a conversation with a guy who might then avoid your sites. Lastly, do not take baits. If someone grabs your loot piñata wreck and gets its loot, they might be looking for a fight. If they go suspect and you shoot them, you get a limited engagement timer with them, meaning that they can shoot back even in high sec. So before you engage, think if it's worth to risk your few 100 million Loki or even your Marauder worth a few billion ISK for loot that is usually not worth it. Second type of content you can get into is the ice mining, which is the most chill but also slowest of the activities. Once again, it is a gated complex, so after you take the gate, you will encounter a belt of ice rocks and an orca in the middle. You might sometimes get an odd system rat patrol spawn, but anything can take them out easily with drones. The goal here is to get ice, at least 7 pieces, and hand it at the orca. For every bunch of 7 blocks, you get a crate that can contain various loot. For this site, since I multi-boxed them, I have chosen the Endurance. It is fast, it mines pretty well, and it has no problems of a barge. You can sit back, relax, chip away at your rocks, and when you are up to 19 blocks in your ore hold, you very quickly offload it and get back into mining rather than start the slow boat. The tips for this site start with the first one. Do not jetcan mine. There is a ton of people preying on people mining to jetcans, as they will steal your ice and go hand it themselves. They do become suspect while doing so, but since most people will not care about them if they didn't steal their cans, if you attack, you can usually quickly realize that they are fit for PvP, will tackle you and slowly destroy your ship. Second tip here is to of course not take any baits. If you see a suspect guy in high sec, ignore him. As long as you don't attack, he can't do anything about you. For low sec, where I don't really mine during events, it can be a bloodbath, because people will simply group up with their alliance mates and clear sites, forcing anyone off of them. Lastly, stay in the site. If people quickly chewed through all the ice rocks, unless it was completely depleted, meaning that they mined through the site not being visible on the scanner window, you can stay on the site. It will disappear off of the probe scanner window, but some rocks will still respawn. This means that you can have a whole site for yourself if you just go, grab something to drink and come back with everyone being gone. And of course, we have one more activity to do, that is exploration. This is the one non-gated site, meaning that you warp in, then need to rush to a canister in space, which needs to be hacked, and you pull your loot out of it. All of the sites are of data variety, so you can leave your relic analyzer at home. For this task, I have made a little beastie Helios, boasting a good warp speed and a very decent scan strength and a little scanning speed lowering for good measure. I will also include a link to an Imicus fitting, which should be able to take out the sites as well, though if you are alpha this will be difficult because the sites are hard to scan down. The challenge in those sites comes not from the hacking, which in high sec is trivial, it's green 50 HP cores, but rather the scanning. The sites are a level 4, so if you don't have quite high scanning strength, you will probably have to go down to 0.25 AU range, then pull the probes together while holding control. In those first days of the event, systems are quite contested, so getting there first to grab the loot in high sec can be challenging, but not impossible. Here are some tips to grab the loot and be ahead of others. First, before you get into proper scanning for the data sites, do a quick pass through all the systems of the storm you want to farm and scan all the sites in them. Hit ignore on every result that is not a data site to make sure you eliminate any distractions. Once done, start scanning systems and racing other explorers. Next, if you see that the only other signature is on the other side of the system, hit warp to a nearby celestial when you start scanning. Having way less AU to warp means you will get to the site faster. Another one that helps, especially in big and spread out systems, is that you can cut down your starting range from 8 AU to 4 AU. This is because signatures spawn within 4 AU of a celestial body. Therefore, if you got a lone signature next to a faraway planet in a system that has nothing else next to it, go ahead and drop your probes not on the signature, but on the celestial at 4 AU range of your probes. Another one, which is why I did not really pay attention to align time of my Helios, is that if you keep your system map open, then hold V for D-scan and click on the signature you're scanning, your camera will move in that direction. So, simply double-click in space towards there, adjusting with your scans, and you will keep being aligned and ready to warp as soon as you scan the signature down. Lastly, don't trust your overview, especially when you are racing someone else that may be landed on the same site just behind you. This makes you lock the can, turn on your micro warp drive, and wait to hit your analyzer. Thing is, your overview is lagging behind on showing you your range to other objects in space. If you really want an up-to-date report on the ranges, use Tactical Overlay. If you hover over your module, a red circle of its range will show up. The moment an object gets in that range, it will catch when you activate the module. Okay, we got the content, now what's the loot you can expect in those sites? It varies, and it varies a lot. All sites can drop Overseer's personal effects, which you can sell to NPC buy orders. They also have a chance at the big hitting items, skins that will probably drop in price a lot now, but if you sit on them, they might regain value in the upcoming year. BPCs, which includes BPCs of implants, which I found in combat sites in low-sec, doing them with a fleet of corp mates. Other big drops include combat boosters, which people running PvP and abyssals love. Boosters will keep dropping prices now that people flood the markets, but they last until February, so as people buy out these markets, at the end of the event, price might go up nicely. Last big drop is the Cerebral Accelerators. They increase your training speed for a time, which can be doubled if you have biology trained to 5. They are very useful and sell for a pretty penny, so grab them. Some site-specific loot I found was BPCs and invention decryptors in data sites and salvage in the mining site loot cans. And this is what I got for you today. Get out there, get the event ISK, because even the small prizes do add up and it all contributes towards getting points for that sweet PLEX. If you enjoyed this video, share it with a corp mate that might need it, leave a like and subscribe to see my future uploads. If you are interested in what I will talk about next, my videos go up every Sunday. And if we never see each other in space again, Capsulea, fly safe.